Hello, this is Tom with the Tractor Rescue Ranch. I wanted to do a little bit of a get to know you video here. Tell you a little bit about me and what I'm all about and what our channel's about. Anyway, I had a video last week that really hit the algorithms hard with YouTube, and it did really well. And as a result, I ended up with a whole bunch of new subscribers, so I wanted to just do a little bit of a introduction for all the new subscribers and let you know kind of what we're up to around here. Anyway, 6 years ago I retired. I took a little bit of an early retirement when I was 57, and I retired from a 33-year in the corporate world. And the company I worked for was in the explosive business, so we sold and distributed and used explosives, ran blast crews, and so I did that for 33 years. Finally had all the stress I could take doing that corporate job, and so I retired a little bit early. And when I retired, Mary and I came back home to this region. We're in western Wyoming. I was born in Jackson, Wyoming, and so now I'm ending up just a little bit south of Jackson, Wyoming, and coming back home to this region. We spent a lot of years in Oklahoma and Arkansas and Nevada in my career, and so I am glad to be back to the mountain region. We really enjoyed our time that we had in Oklahoma and Arkansas. It was some good time, but we're happy to be back home to the cold country and to the mountains. And so anyway, when we first moved back here to this homestead, we bought this homestead. It had been empty for 10 years, the home that we bought. I've got 13 acres here is all, and then the house and all these outbuildings that are old and wore out. But we bought this old homestead that had been empty and needed a lot of work, and so we've been working constantly on everything here. And I started posting videos for my kids and my grandkids so that they could be a part and watch what we were doing here on the homestead. And those early days, I didn't have internet here, and so the only thing my phone would let me do is up to 3 minutes. So all of my early videos are really short, and like I said, it just posted them for my kids and grandkids to see what I was doing. And then things kind of kept progressing, and my kids suggested that we put up a YouTube channel, and so it kind of grew from there. We didn't have internet available to us in this area. We're in a very rural area, and so when Starlink finally came on, we got Starlink, and so now we've got good internet and I can post longer videos. So anyway, long story short, what really started this channel and where the Tractor Rescue Ranch come along, I studied agriculture mechanics at Utah State when I was a kid, and really always enjoyed the mechanics of these old tractors, and ended up not being a mechanic my whole career, but I always really enjoyed the mechanic work. And so anyway, we started out here with this. I had a neighbor north of me, older gentleman, quite older than I am, and he gave me a call one day and asked me to come out and help him with a plumbing part. He had to replace the valve in the shower, and he didn't have the strength to pull the old valve out, so I went and helped him. And while I was there, he said he's got all this old equipment here. He's looking for somebody that'll haul it off to the salvage yard. And so I just says, I'm your guy, but it's not going to the salvage yard. So he hadn't farmed for years, but he had all this old equipment, and he was gracious enough just to give it to me. The fact of the matter is, by the time you have the expense to haul it to the scrap yard from here, there's not much left. Scrap prices once you get the expense of hauling it. So anyway, I hauled all of that old equipment home that had been sitting there for many years. That D4 Cat was one of them that I hauled home, and that I've got the power plant for the sawmill out of. So I got every bit of it working. Old haying equipment, swather and baler, and the old 4020 John Deere was part of that deal. I had to do an in-frame on that John Deere. But anyway, it all sat for 20 years. And from the story I've gathered, this D4 Cat had sat for 40 years and hadn't been run. So that's where the tractor rescue ranch started. And since then, I've purchased some other old tractors and kind of expanded my amateur collection. And I just love this old equipment. And looking at the comments of these videos, I'm not the only one that loves these old equipment. I kind of think that these old tractors and farm equipment, they've got a heart and a soul to them. That old equipment fed America for years and years. And I might be getting a little bit too into the woo-woo, but I think we ought to preserve that heritage, preserve all of that equipment that worked so hard for so many years to feeding people. So anyway, as the YouTube progresses, I went and bought, and I've got a whole series of videos on this sawmill that's behind me. So I went and picked it up. The wood on it was rotten and missing, and pretty much all I got was a pile of metal stuff, and I restored it and got it milling, and so that's been a real labor of love as well. So anyway, that's kind of all about what we are about here on the Tractor Rescue Ranch, wanting to promote the ideas of these old timers when they quit farming, instead of letting the old tractor sit for years and years and go to waste. You all know there's nothing worse on a piece of equipment than just letting it sit and not do anything. Every piece of equipment I have here, that though I don't use them a whole lot, every piece of equipment I have here, I start up a couple times a year, run them around just to make sure everything's lubed on them and still working. So that's where we're at. And I just appreciate all of the support, the great comments that I got on that video on the TD9. There were some really gracious comments that came through, and a lot of people shared their interest and their memories of those old tractors. So just as an introduction, that's what we're all about around here, and I sure appreciate you guys all watching and supporting, and I'm going to continue to keep working here and trying to put out better and better content for you. So thanks for watching.